sun is just coming up on a beautiful Sunday. It's just after 8 o'clock in the morning, and sort of take a little stroll. Talk to you about the bland world that we're living in at the moment. I was inspired by a video I saw earlier today whilst having a cup of coffee and getting myself organised, thinking, yes, this is very true. I've mentioned this sort of thing before, but we do live in a very bland world, yet we didn't used to. I mean, nature itself is just stunningly beautiful. If you watch some of these incredible TV programs of the past that they used to make and show you, you know, the natural world, we're always impressed by it. And then there was a time when people took pride in the country, their own country, wherever it was. Took amazing pride. People dressed up, they looked smart, they made an effort, and all the utilitarian functions also made an effort. You think about trains, when trains are around, and people who were proud to serve, and they would be dressed up in these wonderful outfits with hats and gloves, and would be there to serve you and to look after you. And you would, of course, comply in exactly the same way and dress up and look nice for them. And people would dress up to go to the theatre, or they would dress up to go to the cinema. They would dress up for all sorts of different occasions. People would make an effort. They would polish their shoes. And all of that. People don't do that now, do they? Do people still polish their shoes? I mean, I polish my shoes if I'm going out, but not all the time, I have to admit. But I do make a bit of an effort these days to dress up reasonably well. But if you go down into the town and you just look at people wearing all sorts of slacks and things, they don't at all. Look at this. This is where the old Teville Gate car park was. Multi-storey car park was here in this little bit. It's been like this for years. They're trying to make it into something for the town, but they haven't. And there's another huge stretch of it over there. And then there's this ghastly building here that went up. I showed you this the other day. Absolutely ghastly looking thing. And you get off the train and you're coming to a municipal seaside town, one of England's beautiful resorts, destroyed by the uglification of Britain. That is the first thing you see, that great big monstrosity as you come out of the train. If you were a day tripper down to the seaside, that's what you now see. It's hopeless. I suppose here, these things, let's come round and have a look. These are going to be for trees, I assume, to line this avenue. And already we can see that graffiti artists are coming in and destroying stuff. And we seem to allow that. We allow these graffiti people to spray their crap. You know, some people say, oh, well, it's art, isn't it? It's not art at all. I just don't understand. We have let this country and other countries, other people, the Americans as well, they have let stuff go. I was watching this video and the guy was saying in America they're letting all these heroin addicts just sit on the street with detritus around them and wee and poo and all of that, and nobody moves them on, or nobody cares for them, or nobody takes them somewhere else. They just let them rot on the street, which is awful. And then we're building, I don't know how much of it you can see in my, hang on, let's tap the back of the camera, and yeah, that building there, it's all very clean and new and gleaming, but it's not an appropriate building for a seaside town. It's cheap old flats and stuff, but it's bland. We're just allowing ourselves to accept bland. The days when buildings were beautifully designed, intricately thought through, but not just buildings, products, actual items that we, you know, think of the old record players that we used to have the wind-up gramophones with the great big horn and the 78s on it. Think of the old-fashioned telephones that we had. Cars. When cars came out, cars looked different, didn't they? They all looked unique. People had spent time designing cars to appeal. They were carriages to take you to places. They weren't just utilitarian devices that all look the same, as if they've all gone into the same wind tunnel and gone, oh, well, this is what we've got to do because we've got to make these things go faster and faster. We don't really need them to go fast. In fact, we're trying to stop people from exceeding the speed limits. But what do? We design cars that can go up to 100 or 120 miles an hour. And you just think, well, wait, hang on a minute. Isn't this all a bit of an oxymoron? I'm going to walk up this road here. I haven't been up here for you. See, one of the nice things, at least in Victorian England and Georgian England, although this has got some very boring, look at these flats here, they're boring. Just utilitarian, basic mean windows, just, you know, perfunctorily. Is that the right word? Perfunctory windows. You just do what they're supposed to do. There's no panache, there's no celebration of life. There's nothing rather wonderful about it. Some of these are a little bland in the Victorian, but some of them are nice. Look at that, there's a taller building there with an extra story on the top. And the trees, big green trees that take up a lot of space and produce a lot of leaves. Well, that's a nice door. Nice door on that one. It's just, I find it quite depressing in this modern world. Hang on, I need to just move my camera. There we go. I find the blandness, you know, here, look, these bins, they might be useful to be big plastic bins standing outside the house, but when they're all lined up like boring sentinels, it is just dull. Here we go, this is a bit more like it. Look at this. There you go. All that beautiful red on the house. With roads chock-a-block with these awful cars. Here we go. It's interesting, isn't it? Come out up here. Hertford Road, or is that Hertford? Now, can't remember, I think I came up this way. I've come this way, a different way. Did this walk not so long ago, but I'm going to do a different type, not a different type of walk, just a different thing. Yes, everything is now made to the bare essentials. And beauty doesn't seem to be part of it. People don't hold themselves up. They let themselves go. They eat this awful food. They get themselves overweight. They don't seem to care about their health. They think, well, that's okay. Somebody else can deal with my health. You know, I pay into the National Health Service. I'll just take pills. It'll be fine. I'll guzzle as much alcohol as I can and eat all this nasty, cheap and cheerful food stuff. I'm going to go, did I go up to the end there? I did. This was no, that wasn't a dead end. Let's go down here, Cambridge Road, past this church, Worthing Baptist Church. Can't remember which one it was I went down before. I think it was a different one actually, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. I'm just walking and talking. People, what's happened? That's what I'm trying to sort of get at. What's happened to us? You see, I think it's our fault. We've allowed this. We've allowed slovenly service. You'll hear certain companies saying, oh, well, we pride ourselves on our service. And you think, well, what service? What service is it? Where people stand, you know, you go to a restaurant and the waiters are standing there bored. They just look at you as if you're, you know, I don't know. I feel that we've let ourselves down. We've let these standards drop. Here we go, look, more of this, I don't know if this is red ivy or what it is, wisteria or who knows. We don't build roads like this, for example, anymore, do we? You know, if you're lucky enough to live in a place, Oxford Road, I mean, this is rather beautiful, and it does, okay, its leaves are all over the place, but look, we allow this graffiti on the roads. It's like we no longer care. Let's go into the middle of the road, look. That is quite a nice, pleasant road. You have to confess, even though there are cars either side of it, it's nice and quiet, it's a lovely street, a beautiful place to live, particularly if you knew your neighbours, which I guess a lot of these people probably do, maybe, you know, have a relationship with their neighbours. It's the older part of Worthing. I mean, it's not the old part. Worthing's not that old anyway. But we don't build this sort of stuff anymore. We don't build these beautiful, big, proud, heavy houses that will be here for years and years. We're building these boxes, these chicken boxes, and we're treating people like they are cattle. We're just, yeah, here's a box, you know, you're going to pay through the nose on what, to me, seems like a prison camp of these things, and then we're going to promote them to the high end as if they are executive homes, as if they're something really special, as if they're wonderful. And they're not, they're falling to bits. They're made with the minimum spec. Tiny little gardens, if gardens at all, and places in which, I mean, where I used to live in Horsham, which was all farmland, they've built these god-awful houses which try to resemble a mill and old-fashioned industry, and the whole road you can't park on. If you stop and park on there, there's £100 fine. You're allowed one car on your parking space, so you can't have visitors. I mean, what are people supposed to do if you want to have people round? There didn't seem to be, as I recall, any car parking areas for other people. We're not thinking through, we're just thinking, yes, we'll sell this to the builders, the developers. They'll decide, well, we want to make the biggest profit possible, so we'll assign the least amount of space to public amenities and parking and make the place look nice, and we'll just put more and more houses, bang, 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 bang. And we let them do it. We let them get away with it. All of this, really, I think the standards have slipped because we don't care. We just don't seem to care anymore. And the thing is, the longer this goes on, we don't even know we don't care. Look at this. I wonder what was in here. I've never looked in here before. Big old iron gates, and then a big space in the middle of, at the back of Worthing. Combination lock, big old wall. Must be the rear of a big house, I'm imagining. Well, let's go up here and have a look. You know, these old beautiful walls, why don't we make these anymore? Why aren't we replicating what looks wonderful? But we're not. We're not. All the buildings. Morning. How are you? Good. Excellent. Off to work?
Come again?
Off to work?
No, just coming back from work.
Oh, coming back. Oh, you've got the rest of the day to yourselves. Yes, have fun.
Nice time.
Yeah, look after yourself. Yeah, I can't work out what's back here. Just a shed or something in a compound of some description. And you've got these big old houses from the Victorian days and late Victorian. Well, you don't go up there, that's a bit boring. So there's a couple of gentlemen who've come back from work. They've got the rest of the day ahead of them. Let's walk down here. Different styles of houses. Look, you've got here, it's a Victorian villa. And then on here, what looks like a late 30s, possibly 50s, I'm not sure, but that sort of period anyway, bang opposite them, which is curious really. Yes, we've let all of this, we've let it all down ourselves. We don't know, that's the problem, we don't know we're doing it. We're not building an environment, we're not designing things to look nice. Oh, here's a funny little lane. I looked at this the other day. Let's go down here. It's very rare to come across in this part of Worthing a part where you still have an unmetalled road, because everything else is tarmacked or paved, and then there's this little bit here which is quite bizarre going past. It's almost like being in the country. I rather like this. You get the crunch of I'm not sure about these places, but here look, Rectory Mews. I think that's a newish build that's made to look old. You see, they've made the effort there. They've made the effort, even though it's not old, it's sort of blended in. I'm not sure about all these cones and things. But I suppose this is the back of one of the churches that I've been past before, but I don't think I've ever walked down here. So it's quite fascinating. Here we are, look, big church in the sun. How about that? They were proud when they were making these churches. In the end, nobody went to them, of course, and they have few congregations, which just seem a bit of a shame. Look at that. Quite massive. Now, I wonder if we can get down here, get back. I'm going to start heading back. We'll go back down here, which is a little, almost a twitten. May have been a twitten at one point. Little pathway. Oh, I have a horrible feeling. There's a gate down the end there. I think that's locked. I have tried this before. It is a Sunday. You'd imagine it to be open, but yeah, hey-ho. Not to worry. Yes, things aren't designed with love anymore, and art and beauty, aesthetics, and yet we very much appreciate that. You can imagine coming down to a seaside town and seeing all the architecture, and one of the reasons you go to a seaside town is because it's different. It's got the sea. Here's the Richard Cobden pub. Look at that rather splendid looking building. There's another little lane here at the back. Look at that. That crosses into another street. Well, well, I'd go down there if I had more time on this particular video, which I don't. And then, of course, having seen that wonderful pub, you get all these horrible flats as we try to cram everybody into little shoe boxes, which is a bit of a shame. But morning.
Morning.
Lovely sunny day, isn't it? Beautiful. So I don't know what we do about this. I don't know what we do. It's our fault. We've let this happen. We've let our towns and cities become ugly. We've become ugly ourselves. We don't seem to care. We don't have any pride in ourselves. We don't dress up generally just to go down to the town. We're buying cheap and cheerful products made out of plastic that really are just mass produced. We don't, craftsmen, we've got rid of all our craftsmen. We have machine operators instead of people building things again. Good morning, Mr. Robin, chirping away there. We're pushing people into strange industries where they're just becoming a number, a peg, a cog in somebody else's big wheel. And we're not encouraging people to be themselves, or to have a craft, or to design interesting things, or to back them in that way. the big corporations are just making this world blander and blander all the time. And the problem, I think, is that people just are not aware of it. They're not aware that this is what's happening. People are being born into this world and they just assume that's what it's like. And you need to look back, you need to look at history, you need to go into the museums and the art galleries, not at the modern stuff. Don't look at the modern art, it's hardly art. You've got to look at stuff that's been done in the past, because that's where the beauty is. Up and, I don't know, when was it? After the Second World War, things have just become bland. Food, that food that was local food, that was grown locally, that was involved the community to grow it, to bring it to the table. The people used to sit round the table and at meal times. They'd worked hard with their hands. And we now live in a world where we just exist. We just exist. We're just going from one day to another and we're just looking at screens and going and drinking and eating crap and getting ill and moaning. And it's all our fault. It doesn't have to be like that. I don't think it has to be like that. Anyway, thank you for watching. And yeah, think about how it used to be, and maybe smarten yourself up a bit. Take pride in what you do. You probably do, but that's what I think is lacking in this world at the moment. There's not a lot of pride in this place.